Hi, did you miss me? So, I am posting this episode late. Usually, I release episodes every Wednesday, but I have a very big event happening on November 1st. I am launching what is going to be an annual business summit for women, and this summit is to empower women to create legacy wealth through their business. I have gathered an amazing lineup of speakers, and we're all going to discuss different topics. Some of those topics are how to fundraise as a woman, how to access capital for your business, how to create wealth, how to scale your business, how to become a leader, how to transform your mindset into success. There's going to be great topics that are going to be discussed on November 1st. It's from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard, and I am so thrilled about it. But because of that, I am doing something different in October. I am going to be releasing an episode on the weekend, and it's because through the weeks I am interviewing some amazing guests, and those guests are part of the event. They're speaking at the event. So I want to give the opportunity to release an episode once I do the interview. So some weeks you may see two episodes, but it's just depending on how many speakers I have that are coming into Scale to Exit. So we're going to go back to release dates on Wednesday, November and forward. But just for the month of October, keep in mind that the schedule is going to shift a little bit. But with that being said, I am thrilled to bring over our next guest. Our next guest is an amazing human being, business owner, woman. She is a mentor for many small business owners. She has done so many great things in her career. She supports business owners from the beginning stages all the way till the exit stages. She is a female entrepreneur, and she's very passionate about supporting entrepreneurs as well, especially women as well, in creating legacy wealth. So her name is Barbara Weltman. First of all, she's the founder of Big Ideas for Small Business. And she published the idea of the day, which is a few tips that she shares with her audience to make it easy to digest. But she has been an author of several books. Some of those are the J.K. Lasser's Small Business Taxes, J.K. Lasser's Guide to Self-Employment, Home Business Magazines, Home-Based Business Startup Guide, Smooth Failing, and 500 plus big ideas for small business. She's also a guest blogger for several sites and creates continuing education programs for accountants and attorneys. Her career, she has been an attorney and a trusted professional for all small business and entrepreneurs. So she has seen a lot in her time, and she's coming into this podcast to share some of the challenges that business owners have, what to do when you have those challenges, and her energy is she's so enthusiastic about people in business, especially supporting women in business. So I am thrilled to have her in this platform. And with no further ado, I will go ahead and bring her in. All right, perfect. So thank you for coming, Barbara Weltman, into my platform, Scale to Exit. I am happy to have you here. I know you have an amazing journey, and I am actually really eager to see where does your passion to helping small business owners come from, because you have written so many great books. You have a great business with a big purpose behind it. So maybe you want to talk about that, and then where your passion comes from.
Sure. I'm an attorney by trade, and I practiced for many years, and I worked with small business owners to help them form their businesses, deal with their partners, plan for their succession and their exits. And I really enjoyed it. But I found that over time, I was getting the same kinds of questions. And so that's kind of where I had the idea to create a business where I could provide this information to small business owners nationwide. And I do this primarily through my books, which you have mentioned, but also through my idea of the day and my blogs, which post regularly on my website. And I've expanded now to have guest bloggers share their information. And it's been wonderful. It's been fun, and it keeps me engaged. And I love to hear from people. I got an email this morning Thanks for the reminder. It was so helpful. I would have forgotten. And it's that kind of thing that keeps me going.
So you've been doing small business support in many different ways. You are also in the tax area as an attorney, in the exit planning area. What is your favorite part when it comes to supporting small business owners?
Well, I wouldn't say I have a favorite part. I have focused primarily on tax, financial, and legal aspects of business. So I like to see that small business owners stay out of trouble. They know they learn what the rules are, so they can be compliant and not have to and can sleep at night and figure out ways to save money and not waste money and especially with taxes. It's an area that's so confusing, continually changing. I mean, that's what keeps me interested, is every day it's something new. But sharing that information is what I think is so important, because small business owners don't have in-house tax departments. They don't have accountants that they work. It's too expensive to call up your accountant every minute to ask a question. And really, the burden is on small business owners to get it right and make smart business decisions and create good business practices. But you can't do that unless you have the information.
Agreed. So in the beginning that there's so many the same questions over and over again that business owners do. What are like the themes of those questions?
Well, it starts from the very beginning. I have this great idea for a business. I want to start the business. How should I set it up? Should I be an S corporation? Should I be a limited liability company? I might take in a partner, but should I borrow money or bring in a partner? And how should I finance this? And where could I find some money? And what are the tax implications of all of this? So just right out of the gate, there's a lot of things to try to find out about.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to becoming a business owner, you have so many questions about what you just said, like business structure. What's the best tax strategy that I can get to cut expenses, to like save money? To so, can you talk about more of the tax strategies? Because there's a lot of people that listen to us that are business owners that are probably thinking, I want to know more about the tax strategies to save money.
Yeah, well, there are many opportunities to write off your expenses. Almost, as in being in business, almost everything that you pay for will be deductible, but it's a question of timing. How much can you write off? There are limitations. There are issues when you have losses. And then, of course, there's a growing number of tax credits that you can claim for certain expenses. And credits are even better than deductions. They're worth more to you. And because of the way the tax rules operate, every year dollar limits change. And so you want to know something you might not have been entitled to last year, you may be entitled to this year because of the change in the numbers, or vice versa. And so you really need to find out what's going on.
Yeah, I agree. And everything changes so much too with the laws are continue changing. So you also support business owners on the exit planning side, which people, they have a lot of questions around that area, like how to make an exit strategy profitable and better for myself. Like where can I that the support that you give and any advice?
Okay, there's no one single way to go. There are so many ways to go, and it just depends so much on your situation. I mean, are you in a family-owned business? Are you in a business that has employees? Uh, what are you trying to do with exiting? Are you trying to leave entirely, or just reduce your day-to-day activities, and what's going on? So, just as an example, if you have a C or an S corporation, you might consider setting up an employee stock ownership plan and transferring, getting your money out that way, and giving ownership to your employees, which is a great thing to do. If you have children who are working in your business, how are you going to handle that in terms of maybe one child works in the business and another child doesn't work in the business, and they want, in this whole questions of fairness. There are questions of valuation. What is your business really worth? I mean, you've worked your whole life for it, but maybe it's not worth what you think. And it certainly depends where the economy is at a particular moment when you want to get out. And so that's something that you need to think about. One one general thing that I could say about an exit strategy is that you want to be sure that for at least probably 3 to 5 years, you have excellent records, financial records, so you can show a prospective buyer what the company is really worth. You can show what liabilities there may be, what obligations you have, what contracts you're involved in, what vendors you're dealing with. I mean, there's so many aspects to it, but really think 3 to 5 years before you want to exit, and make sure that you nail down all this information.
I agree. I tell everybody that in order to exit it, at least 3 years, because it takes time to bring valuation up. It takes time to get organized. Um, in terms of like creating a business, because you work with people from beginning to end, what do you recommend people that are just starting a business to do to consider if they're trying to exit in the next few years from the beginning?
Well, the very first thing that I tell people is you have to segregate your business finances from your personal finances. And that's one of the mistakes that so many startups make, is that they'll say, well, I'll use my credit card that I already have, and I'll remember which are business expenses and which are personal. And you won't. I'm telling you, you won't. And you really need to have a separate bank account, a separate credit card, and you must have books and records. It's required. It's not for your personal finances. If you want to throw receipts into a shoebox, that's fine. But for business finances, the law requires you to keep books and records. And so from the get-go, do it right, set it up right. You don't have to be a math genius to do it. All you need to do is enter an expense that you had and record an income that you bring in. It's not really very difficult. It's just something that you need to do. It's probably not the most fun part of running your business, but it pays off in the end. First of all, it'll tell you how your business is doing. Are you making money? Are you profitable? Are you losing money? You may think you're making money because you're so busy and you're bringing in sales, but if your expenses are out of whack, you might not be making money. And so the only way to know that is with good books and records. And that's one thing. Then, of course, you need that for tax preparation. And then, of course, it forms the basis for any exit strategy.
I love that you say that because, like you, I work with a lot of early stage startups, and that's one of the areas that they have a lot of challenges and they make a lot of mistakes. They don't separate themselves from the business, it's still an extension from them. You don't understand, like, you have to do all these calculations on the side just to see really how the business is performing, just because they're all of the personal expenses running through the business, and you don't really get a clear picture of what's going on in the financials. So that is a great advice for everybody that's listening, to just keep your financials in record, not until when you're exiting, but when you're beginning your business. What else would you say that is a challenge for early stage entrepreneurs when it comes to scaling their business in a way that it's faster, the way that they want it to be, and still keep that brand that they want to create in the future?
Well, one of the things that I think is challenging, especially for businesses, once you bring on an employee and then you grow your staff, the rules are unbelievable. I mean, I have to laugh at it. And I really, it's such a challenge for small business owners. But not only do you have payroll responsibilities in terms of withholding and depositing taxes and filing returns, federal and state, and sometimes even local, but then you also have compliance with all these employment laws, what you can and cannot do, what you can and cannot say on an interview, what you must post in terms of information in the workplace with respect to minimum wage and those kinds of things. The insurance that you need to carry, unemployment coverage for your workers, and also the law doesn't mandate it, but you'd be a fool to not have liability coverage and property damage coverage, which most small business owners can get. And it's easy to do, get a BOP, a business owner policy, covers a lot of the bases and will protect you from what can happen. Unfortunately, what can happen. And I think, we all go and we're all optimists. We wouldn't start a business unless we thought we were going to succeed, right? So we never think about the bad things. And kind of that, as an attorney, that's sort of my perspective, because I've seen the bad. And so I really advise people to, think about these, what you might call back office issues. They're not your sales. They're not your brand. They're not, it's just, another thing, it's talking of brand, if you have trademarks or other intellectual property, be sure that you protect them. They're important to you. They're huge assets for your business. So to go through the legal steps to make sure that you have protections there as well.
So you just brought up a point that that I think is really important. So the business structure, right? In terms of protection, I see so many business structures. I see the parent company here. I see, the brand here, the trademarking another company, and they just have all these business structures for protection. Do you think that's ideal to do in the beginning, or maybe like later, or maybe not at all? What's your take on that?
Well, it kind of depends on the nature of your business. I mean, if somebody is just doing, web design or a freelance writer, it's the structure, your liability exposure is very small. But if you're dealing with chainsaws or something, where that you might have accidents and liability, then you really want to think right out of the gate, structures that will provide personal liability protection. And so again, like I said, it depends on the nature of your business, on where you start out.
Yeah, those are the kind of conversations that a lot of business owners, we have together, depending on the nature of your business. Another thing is when you scale your business, like hiring employees, like there's so depending, and because the world is changing so much that we can hire people remote, we can hire people from other states. There's so much compliance that comes with that. In some states, like California, they have the ABC test, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you can you talk about that? Can you talk about
Sure.
hiring multi-state? Yeah.
Well, okay. So the issue that you're raising is, should you use an employee or engage an independent contractor?
Mm-hmm.
And there are legal and tax differences, considerable legal and tax differences. So, for example, an employee, you have all payroll taxes. An independent contractor is responsible for his or her own taxes. There's no withholding and insurance. That's all separate. But you can't just slap a label on somebody. It really depends on the nature of the relationship. And there are different tests for independent contractors for different purposes. So you referenced the California ABC test, and that is for purposes of wage rules in California. The IRS has a completely different test. So, and some of the other federal agencies have their own tests, and your state may have its own test for unemployment insurance. So, again, I think you could kind of think, does in a non-technical way to look at it is, do you have real control over the person from the IRS's perspective, when, where, and how the work gets done? And then they're going to be an employee, and you can't just call them an independent contractor because you want to lighten your tax burden or your insurance costs. But also look at if they're doing exactly what employees would be doing, that's part of the ABC test, that's kind of an indication. So in other words, if you have a company that does web design and you have employees sitting in your office doing web design, and then you have somebody outside doing web design, Well, they kind of look like an employee because they're doing the same kind of work. So it's not always clear. Sometimes it is clear. You're that web company and you're hiring a plumber. That plumber's not your employee. But so it depends. Again, facts really matter. Your situation really dictates the results. But my best advice is, if you have a question, it's better to ask the question up front and pay for the cost of advice up front rather than incurring penalties and other problems down the road.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And penalties with the government are no fun. They're definitely not fun at all. Um, Going back to, because you help businesses at all stages, so I have like so many questions, but going back to like the exit side, what are some of the challenges that you have experienced with business owners when they're getting ready for an exit, that you see common theme across the board?
Well, one of going back a little while, one of my somebody I know in business was all set to sell, and the whole economy collapsed and there were no buyers. And so timing is important, and you have to kind of monitor what's going on. I know that some people work with business brokers to find buyers, but a lot of times you can get buyers from within. You might have, it depends. If it's a very small company, there may be a loyal employee who wants to take over the business, and that I've worked with those situations. Sometimes it's just a question of, maybe you have multiple owners and somebody just wants to retire or move on to is a serial entrepreneur and wants to start another business, and that's just a financial arrangement that you can easily work out. One of the problems that I've seen, unfortunately, is when you have co-owners and you all start out at like a marriage. Everybody loves each other, and then you get to the divorce stage and everybody hates each other, and it's hard to communicate and work out issues. So one of the things I like to tell people at the beginning is to have really good partnership shareholder agreements that spell out what happens if, let's say, if one owner just decides not to provide services anymore. I don't feel like doing anything anymore. Well, that should be spelled out, that they have to sell, or or put in more money, or not get any distributions, and you need to address that up front, like a prenuptial agreement, when everybody is in love.
Yeah, I agree. Wow. So you brought up a really good point. The partnership agreement. It is kind of like when you're getting a house with a boyfriend, or with somebody that you're not really married, and then becomes huge problems and you have to get divorced from the house. It's kind of like the same thing. Business treated as an asset. You have to remember to have really good shareholder agreements. A lot of business owners don't have a lot of agreements, Barbara. I've come to the realization when they comes to start working with me, they're like, so where can I go to get this agreement? Should I go to a rocket lawyer, or should I go to all this platform and pay in websites, because they don't really think that they need to have an agreement in place for any of the thing, or an NDA or an employee agreement. What would you tell those people right now that really don't emphasize on the importance of having legal structures from the beginning?
Well, I don't object. I'm a lawyer, so I think lawyers are vital, or CPAs, or other professionals who can give advice in a particular area. But I don't have a problem with people trying to do it themselves, but then take what you have and have it reviewed. Pay the money
Okay.
to have it reviewed.
Yeah.
And you will save money because they don't have to, the professional doesn't have to start from scratch.
Hmm.
But there may be areas that you just didn't think about, the what
Yeah.
ifs, and it didn't occur to you, and it's not part of the basic thing. But for professionals who have been at it for a while, have seen what can happen, and may have their own um, things to add.
So when somebody comes in and just does their own template, and modifies their own template. Now the trend is to use the ChatGPT to do to do that as well, to add into that template. Have you seen any kind of in the court of law, like if somebody comes in and puts a, goes and fights the contract, have you seen any pushback from the court saying this is not,
No, no. I
no?
mean, whatever is signed is what the court is going to look at.
Okay. So that's good to know because that's actually a really good question. Like I hear that a lot in my circle, well, I don't have money to go and get a full elaborated contract. So I just asked ChatGPT to do this for me and I just added it to my template and that's what I am doing.
Well, like I said, there's nothing wrong with doing that to start out, but
Yeah.
then have it reviewed.
Yeah.
And I mean, I say the same thing for people who want to do their taxes. You want to use TurboTax, that's fine, but then you might want to have a tax professional look it over and make sure that you didn't forget to do something or overlook an opportunity. It may cost
Yeah.
you money to not
Yeah.
have a professional look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. It's always good to have somebody else to look at it, not just have the one finals review us. That's a good point. When it comes to like, because you're in like all stages, right? So when it comes to when you talk to a business owner, they come to work with you and they're scaling their business into a way that you're seeing, okay, well, they're going to go for an exit in the next few years. Where do you start working with them? Like, what are the steps that you start implementing in their business for anybody that's listening that want to start doing that?
Well, one of the things would be to have a business plan.
Yeah,
I can't tell you how many people don't have a business plan.
I
And a
agree.
business plan, you don't have to be Shakespeare to write a business plan, It's just a business plan could be one page, but you want to put it down so you have some kind of roadmap, you have some kind of benchmarks that you can assess your progress and know if you're moving toward your goal.
Yeah.
And without that, how do you know how you're doing? And this is something and also when you do your business plan, it's not something that you write and then just put in your desk drawer or just leave on the computer. You want to continually look at it and see how you're doing.
Yeah. I like that you say that because believe it or not, that like people probably hearing it's like, oh my God, I have a business plan, but it is one of the most common areas where business owners is like fail to do is a simple thing as a business plan. A simple thing like getting their financials in order. Like for us, it's, we need to do that. But there's a lot of people out there that really just have a business or making good money or maybe not bringing money in, but they don't have a business plan. They don't know where they're going. I want to ask you is you talk about valuation, and there's a lot of misconceptions about valuation, right? Valuation when it comes to fundraising, early stage. Somebody gave me 2 million at a 13 million valuation. I think that's what my valuation is, and then next round I'm gonna be 20 million because of. So talk to me about valuation.
Well, first of all, there are various ways to figure valuation. So it's not just one thing. I mean, it depends. Sometimes it's just based on your revenue, but sometimes a lot of the valuation today depends on, well, again, coming back to the nature of your business. I mean, it's one thing to do valuation for a restaurant or a retail establishment. It's another one to do valuation for a tech company that's developing something with AI and where they're going. So it's really hard to come down with a single how to. But again, this is an area where you can work with professionals and get help. There are some free online valuation tools that you can use to just you plug in your numbers and you can and that can give you kind of a rule of thumb and then take it from there. Also, ask your CPA. That a lot of CPAs will provide some valuation for you. Some are actually experts in the area. Others just, will look at your numbers and give you ballpark figures. So certainly get a valuation before you're doing anything. So, if some, I love to watch Shark Tank and see, we're going to give you, $1 million for 60% of your company. Well, do you know what your company is worth now? When you better know what it is before you go on that show, so you
Yeah.
don't give away everything, And I think that's that. You don't have to be on Shark Tank to follow that kind of advice.
No, yeah, I do appreciate that you say that. When people come into the podcast, they talk about Shark Tank. I love it. It's a good reference point. So we do valuations as well for my clients, and we different kinds, right? The discounted cash flow, the market valuation.
Right,
But I
right,
think the market one is the most accessible to people. Like you can just plug in your answers, your numbers, and then it tells you what you're comparing the market wise. For
right.
small business owners, that would make most sense too, because you're not going by EBITDA, you're going for like seller discretionary earnings at that point, if you're small enough, right?
And
Tell. Mhm.
another way that I always think is helpful to figure out what your business is worth, go and look at what comparable businesses are selling for.
Yeah.
That you can easily find that online. And again, you may think your business is worth $100 million and your best competitor is in the market to sell the business and it's $10,000. I'm making, not making up numbers, but it'll certainly give you some idea.
Yes, no, I agree. What, in your experience, since you've been working with so many business owners in this area, what has been the part like when they think my valuation is 30 million, but in reality it's less? Where is the area where they need to increase their valuation the most? What
Well,
areas?
obviously, a lot of the valuation is based just on sales, on revenue, and growth.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to see continued growth. But part of the valuation also depends on the industry you're in, and
Yeah.
where that's going. And
Yeah.
uh, if you're in an industry that doesn't look like it's going to have tremendous growth, then you just have to change your expectations and don't, be realistic. I think
Yeah.
that's part of it.
That's part of it. Yeah, I agree. Because most people that we work with, their valuation, they have this high expectation, and the valuation is over the top, and it's so sad to see their faces when they see, oh, my company's not valued that much, but I put so much work and I bring so much sales, and
Right, right.
there is so much to do. Um, s- since you like write about this, in terms of like once you exit your business, what are things that people can do for tax, like for tax savings in their profits once they?
Well, sure. Well, some of the things that you can do depends on how your business is set up. For
Okay.
example, if you have a C corporation, that's a regular corporation, and you've got the stock in the initial issue, and you got it for cash or property or for services, you can exclude now, and you've held the stock for more than 5 years. 100% of the gain is tax free, up to $10 million. That's a biggie.
That's a big, yeah.
Going in at the beginning, day one, maybe you want to be a C corporation
Mm-hmm.
to take advantage of that. Now, the thing is that certain businesses can't use this. It's limited. It's mostly tech, manufacturing, wholesale, retail that can use this break. If you're in a service related business, you probably can't use the break.
Okay.
So again, you have to find out if this is something that would be relevant to your situation. So that's just one thing, and there are other um, tax strategies. It may be selling out on an installment basis, so you're spreading your gain over a number of years. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, you risk, what are you doing to protect yourself in case the company folds after year 3 and you haven't gotten full payment? And that just happened to somebody. I wasn't their attorney, but I heard about it. So again, there are ways to go, but you need to talk to a professional. This is one area. I mean, this is the end of the rainbow, and you want to make sure that you do everything right.
Yeah, I agree. Have you seen any deals like it's harder to transition businesses to family members rather than any other strategic acquire or going to employees? Or do you see that it's the same challenges no matter what?
Oh, I think there are added challenges going to family members.
Okay.
On the one hand, you probably have greater level of trust and you know who they are and all that.
Hmm.
But on the other hand, you have all personal feelings involved and
Yeah.
and an extended family, everybody putting their 2 cents in. And so, you know, I work with a lot of family-owned businesses, and it can be done well and with no hard feelings and all. But again, it's something that is unique. I think family-owned businesses are different than other businesses.
Interesting. Okay. So that's a good point to take. So, yeah, because when you're giving your business and you're picking your son over your daughter, I imagine that that can become very conflictive in the transition process. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And but there are ways to handle it. There are actually guidance counselors, if you will, that address those very issues for family-owned businesses. And so, take advantage of the resources and avoid the problems.
Yes. No, I agree. So, in terms of like women-based owned businesses, um, have you seen more of those getting the exits that they're supposed to get in terms of like in the industry that they are, or are we still being marginalized when it comes to exits?
Well, yeah, I mean, I still think it's again, it depends on what the business is, but I still see some challenges for women getting the capital they need to start up. And
Hmm.
then in terms of exiting, it's the same thing. But I haven't seen dramatic differences. Maybe other people have, but I haven't.
Okay. Yeah, in terms of getting the capital is really hard. As we know, we're like populations that we don't get any money from VCs, even though they would like to give us the funds. Not a lot of women also making businesses because of that. What have been your experience working with women-owned businesses at this early stage? What has been the challenges that you've seen most of them endure because of this?
Well, I've seen at the startup stage, one of the issues that comes up when you have multiple owners is making sure that it's fair in terms of what each person is putting in,
Okay.
because so many women have childcare responsibilities and other responsibilities, and so it could take them away from the business, especially they may have a bad pregnancy, and I've seen that, and so you just really want to make sure that you think about that up front, and it can be worked out, and I've seen it been very fair, but sometimes, let's say two partners, one might work more this particular year and the other might work more the next year, and as long as there's an understanding and or adjustments in what the distributions are.
Interesting. I had no idea that is a challenge that women have in like multiple shareholders of a business. That's interesting. I'm a sole business owner. I don't like to have partners. So the businesswomen that I work with are also sole owners, so that's not something that has come to my attention. But it's really good to hear that there's things that you can do to protect yourself from the beginning, if
Well,
anything.
with these multiple owners, hopefully each person brings unique things to the table. One
Hmm.
person may be good in sales and the other person may be good in finance, and
Yeah.
you work well together, and that's the whole reason for coming together and forming a business. But then you have to think about the other aspects.
Okay. Okay, wow. That's really good to know. How about when it comes to growing a business, do you think that women we don't have the same opportunities as men, but where do we find a lot of the challenges as women-owned businesses?
Well, I don't know. I know a lot of women-owned businesses that have done very well, and
Hmm.
that it's just kind of like they just do it, and
Yeah.
that's kind of it. Just all right. So I can't get the money here. I'll get the money someplace else, or I'll do without the money, and I'll self finance, and
Yeah.
and I'll get it done.
Yeah.
And a lot of very successful businesses have worked that way.
Okay.
So I think that we as women just I think we just figure out ways to do. I think we're pretty adaptable
Yeah.
and think because we're just used to in terms of life having to deal with so many things that we
Yeah.
figure out solutions.
Yeah. Yeah, so we are very resilient, basically. And when we have that mindset of getting it done, we just get it done and we don't care about the blind spots or how do we get it done.
Right.
That's a really good quality. Like that's the quality that we have of successful women in business. Talk to me about your business, Barbara, because you have so many things that you have done. Talk to me about your challenges. I want to know, what challenges have you endured creating these ventures?
Well, one of the books that I wrote was called Smooth Failing, and I interviewed a lot of people well known in the small business community to find out their failures so that to share this information so that you don't have to go through the same thing. Just don't do this.
Mm.
In the course of doing the book, I shared a lot of my failures, and I made mistakes, tons of mistakes, and some more costly than others. Some cost me emotionally, and some cost me financially,
Hmm.
and I was just again that mindset that I'm going to go forward. I love what I'm doing, and all right, so that didn't work out, so something else will work out.
Did you went back to your why, to your, in order to keep going? Like, did you have to say, okay, I know why I'm doing this. This is my mission. I'm just gonna keep focused, even though you had challenges along the way. How did you overcome those challenges?
Well, I didn't really have to think about. I mean, I it's kind of been my passion my whole life to do this. So my father was a small business owner. I grew up hearing about the trials and tribulations at the dining room table every night. And I don't know, it's just kind of in my nature, my DNA to do this. And and that's kind of it. Even when I was in law school, this is kind of the direction I took. I didn't go work for Fortune 500 companies or, it's just kind of the direction I took. And I really enjoyed it because I love talking to small business owners, hearing their stories, sharing their stories. I've been involved with a lot of women's groups and hearing women-owned business situations, and it's great. Keeps me going.
Yeah, I love it. So you are a motivator, and for a lot of women, right? You have motivated, inspire them with their businesses to keep going. Can you tell me one thing that you share with them to keep them going, motivated?
Well, I mean, if what you're doing is worthwhile, I mean, if you're providing a product or a service that you think is of value to other people, or to your community or to the world, I mean, that's motivation. I don't think that I have to tell anybody to be motivated. I mean, all the business owners I've ever met, everybody is motivated. That's why they started their business. The problem, of course, comes when there's burnout or failure or those kinds of things happen. But I think if in your nature to keep going, I think that's what you started a business. If not, go get a job and go work for somebody else and get your paycheck, and that's that.
And that's that. Yeah. Have you ever been in that moment where your business was contracting and then you thought, okay, I don't know what to do. Maybe I need to go get a job. Did you ever had any kind of a thought through your career?
Um, no, I mean,
No.
I didn't. I have to confess that I didn't go straight up. I didn't. But for each stage that I was at, it suited me. It suited my family situation, and it was manageable. And so I've been content throughout my career. I never felt that, example, being a woman was a stumbling block or a disadvantage. Um, I only came across in all my years. I had one client that didn't like to work with women, but there were plenty of others that did, and so I never really had that feeling. I also never felt that I was getting paid less than men, so that was another good thing. And yeah, I've had opportunities that have come and gone, and things that didn't work out, and so I had to look elsewhere and find other avenues of revenue. But all along it's been pretty good.
It's been pretty great. Yeah, I don't think whoever tells me their business goes straight up all the way is it's not telling the truth. Because the businesses go up, but in zigzag. So you go down, then
I
you go
think
up.
that's right. Yes, yes.
When it could like the contraction period of a business, you said, you had opportunities. I always think that there's no failures. Like failure is kind of like a way to look at a new opportunity as something you can do. So for me, when a business is contracting, I'm like, okay, we need to start looking at where can we strategically look for more sales, for more clients? Can you tell me
Well,
a story? Yes.
yeah, I think it's really wise for businesses to have multiple lines of revenue
Hmm.
so that you're not dependent. Certainly, somebody will land a giant contract with one party, but then you're dependent on that one party and that one contract. If you have multiple areas of revenue coming in, then you can withstand some kind of contraction because at least you'll have something coming through the door.
Hmm.
And so I think that's something to keep in mind.
Yes. And that also drives the valuation of your business up too. If you have multiple lines of revenue or recurring revenue too, that drives up the cash flow and the revenue, the sales. Sorry, my dog is. So, can you share a story of when you were in a business contraction and you look at it and you actually came out stronger because you looked at an opportunity that you didn't know you had?
Really, the only thing that I can say about it I was involved in this particular project. This was a number of years ago, and we were trying to get a reality TV show going, and I was working with some really good professionals, and I just I learned my lesson about um, putting in money. Who everybody needs to have a stake in the activity, and I mean I learned lessons. So I don't I had the money that I invested in that particular activity. Okay, I lost it, and but it wasn't the end of my business. It was just that was money that I didn't
Mhm.
have going forward.
So, you talked about mistakes and lessons that you learned. And you wrote a book about other people's mistakes. Is there is there a story that you want to share of what not to do?
Of what not to do. Well, I think one of the things that it's a story that impacted me, and also one of the chapters in the book. You really have to know who you're in business with, uh, who you're working with. Uh, it looks great from the start, but what are these people really like? When things get tough, what are these people like?
Hmm.
Their stake in everything? What's their interest? How committed are they? All of these things, and basically, are they honest people, or are they just going to try to do shortcuts and that are not good?
Yeah.
So I mean, you really have to know who you're dealing with in not only just in people that you're in business with, but also your professional advisors. You want to make sure that they are top notch and of the quality of people that you want to deal with.
And it takes time to get to know someone. And then when you think you know them, you don't really know them still. So
Sometimes yes, sometimes it's true. Sometimes yeah.
yeah. So I talk a lot about belief systems, Barbara, because, and you said something before that really triggered me to say this. You said, I never believed that I was paid less than a man. I never believed that we being a woman was to my disadvantage. So I want to know from a successful woman like yourself, I want to know what are your beliefs?
Well, I'm not
Mm,
even probably one of the things that keeps me going is my curiosity. And I just love to find out new things, to meet new people, to find out new ways of doing things. And just keep it. I think with curiosity, you are never bored, and you're continually learning. And that's another thing. I'm a lifetime learner, and so
I
I think
do.
that's so important.
Yeah, I think it's so important too. I love learning from everything. Like I have a tax degree just because I wanted to learn tax, but I don't keep up with it, so I don't talk about that very much. But yes, I love learning. I think education is being taken for granted nowadays just because, and it's also very expensive, right? To go to like a 4 degree 4 year school is very expensive. It was not what it used to be. So people are taking it for granted, unfortunately. But I do feel like there's, if you, education is a power weapon. If no matter where you are, that's your number one power weapon. Do you
But
have?
it doesn't have to be a 4-year degree. I
It's
mean,
not.
as you're
Yes.
in business,
Mm-hmm.
uh, there's no requirement other than if you're going into certain trades or professions that you have any college degree. You can
Mm-hmm.
be a high school dropout and start a business, but you still need to continually learn. And something like this podcast is hopefully informative to people who listen. TED Talks, there are lots of free opportunities for continually learning. And so, one of the things, this is circling back to what we talked about earlier, but I think you need to set aside time, not just in selling, not just in marketing your business, but in learning, in going over your business plan,
Mm-hmm.
reviewing things. So you need to set aside time that you're going to look at things, and you can bring more back into your business. I think that's so important, and I think that so many business owners are by the end of the day, that's it. They're so tired and have their family to deal with and everything, and they can't even imagine putting in an extra half an hour some other place. But if they build it into their schedule at work, I think that it's doable.
Yeah, like 1 hour a day, maybe at 1 p.m. I put it in your schedule. Just hear a podcast, like you said, or listen to the news or written article that can give you some more information. I agree with that. And there's a lot of resources like Coursera. There's a lot of like, and you post really good tips too, right? On your newsletter every day. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you do tips about tax as well, tax and legal.
Yeah, tax, financial, and legal, and more. Whatever is related to small business that's really important that comes up. And what I try to do is, I think we all kind of suffer from information overload. There's so much information out
Yeah.
there, and how do you handle it?
Yeah.
So my daily tips are 2 sentences, and just with links if this is relevant to you
Yeah.
and you want to find out more, go to the link. But
Yeah.
I just want you to know, oh, today's the filing deadline of something, and oh, this was a case where the employer was held liable. Don't do this. And if you want to read the case, the link is there, and find out the details.
So there's more do not do areas on your website. Do
No,
not.
no, no, not more. Don't do. There are lots of do things, lots of opportunities. Don't. Here's a new tool that you can use for free, and
Hmm.
do this and
Yeah.
use it.
So everybody's that's listening, I'm going to put it in the show notes where to go to look at all the tips that you're putting as well on the
They
website.
can sign up and get the tips delivered every morning into their email.
Yeah.
And
And they're straight to the point, right there. Not, yeah. Yeah, correct. So, anything that you want to add, Barbara, to this interview? We're going to have Barbara, by the way, on November 1st, our legacy building wealth through your business for women. And I'm very excited because Barbara is going to prepare something really nice for everybody that's listening, that wants to go to the business summit. But for right now, would you like to add something else, Barbara?
yeah, I just want people to be excited about being in business. It's a great lifestyle to be a business owner, and there's a lot of fun involved. And
Yeah.
yeah, there are issues, and there are bad days, terrible days, but there are a lot of great days and a lot of great people, and it's a wonderful journey.
I love that. I can feel that the excitement from over here. We're in like different states, but I can feel it from here. And I love what you're saying because it's true. There we have hard days. It always comes with hard days, but then we have the really good days and we own our time, which is very important. And we get to exit our business. We get to make return on our very hard earned time through the years. We can get more money out of it if we situate the business correctly. So why not do it, right? Why not just take the bite and just jump on it and have Barbara by your side?
Be brave.
Be brave. I love it. Thank you, Barbara, for coming into Scale to Exit. You gave us some really good tips on everything tax, employment, and exiting, scaling. And I cannot wait to hear more from you on November 1st. And where can we find you, Barbara? Can you tell everybody where they can find you?
Bigideasforsmallbusiness.com.
Any LinkedIn? Where?
Yeah, all of my LinkedIn, Facebook, X is all of the on the website. You can see all the links to
All the links.
that.
Okay, perfect. So now everybody knows. And then Barbara has, how many books do you have, Barbara? You have a lot of books.
A lot, a lot. I just completed my 2025 editions of J.K. Lasser's Small Business Taxes. I think this is my 29th year of doing that. So yeah, that'll be out in the beginning of December, and it's for 2024 taxes.
Amazing. You have to update that every year, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, sure.
Yes, you do. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Barbara, for gracing us with your time. I know you're a very busy woman, and I cannot wait to hear from you more on November 1st.
Wonderful.
Bye. Adios,
Bye-bye.
muchachos. Bye.